You no longer will miss your 8 a.m. lecture. You won't forget your coffee date with mum. All of a sudden, you'll see that you actually have so much time to do the things that you want to do. Google Calendar is that friend that you need to make all of this happen for you. Staying on top of your schedule can be such a life changer. Shit, like, it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, you don't need to fork out money to pay for Notion templates. Google Calendar is simple to use and really easy to set up. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to set up your Google Calendar and how I use it for the ultimate productivity setup. Okay, so when it comes to calendars, there's just so many options out there, right? There is the paperback option, there is Apple Calendar, Google Calendar, Notion Calendar. There's so many options out there and there is not one best option. The best option is a calendar that works for you. Personally, I used to love using paperback calendars and the ones that are in my diaries. That's because I felt like I needed to physically write on paper, and then I could decorate it with like really cute stickers and use all my different like permanent markers, draw on it and make it visually very pleasing. And that worked like a charm at a time. Like, I felt like when I was whipping out my diary, like I was like a boss. Like, I really got my shit together. And nowadays, actually for the past couple of years, I've been using Google Calendar, and I use Google Calendar for the following reasons, which I'm about to share with you now. Okay, so this is why I use Google Calendar. First, it's super easy to use. Second, it's completely free. And number 3, it syncs with my phone, so I can hold on to my calendar wherever I go. I can still whip it out like feeling like a boss. And number 4, I've been using Google Calendar for decades, so I'm really used to it, but it is a little bit outdated, my calendar anyway, and I haven't been able to explore all these different features it now has to offer. So I decided to create this tutorial so that we could set up Google Calendar together, and I can show you how I revamp my Google Calendar. Okay, so let's get started. The first step that you need to set up your Google Calendar is to have a Google account, right? So I've got a Google account here, and in order to find your calendar, you just go onto the symbols here, click onto calendar, and there we are. So this is what my Google Calendar looks like on a weekly plan. And at the moment we're on Tuesday and we're currently in filming video 1. Okay, so now once that you're logged in, you can now create your calendars here according to the different genres of your life, such as work, personal, and social events. So how you go about doing this is you would go onto your original calendar, which you would see your name on here. Click on the right and click settings and sharings, and then on here you click add calendar, create new calendar, and type in what you need. For my calendars, I decide on this according to what goals I've planned for the week, looking at my mastermind, which is my Google Sheets. I'm looking at the week, the quarter goals, the quarterly goals. Since I no longer do medicine, which used to be like 80% of my Google Calendar, now I have a lot more variety to the things that I do in my life in terms of the activities. Yeah, so now that I work on different things, it's easier to have them categorized into specific calendars, so then you can find them a lot easier. You don't have to do this, of course, but I do find it easier to see what's going on. As you can see, the fun thing about Google Calendar that Apple doesn't have is that you can customize your calendars into what you want it to look like. For me to relive my childhood, I use emojis instead of stickers next to the calendar categories. You can also go ahead and customize the colors of your calendars because, yeah, let's be real, like, Google Calendar provides really quite bold colors, which I think some people may like, but it's not to my taste of aesthetics, so I've decided to go in and change up the colors. And all you need is the hex codes. Let me show you where I find my colors with this color palette picker app called Coolers. Okay. So it's a really easy to use website. You can either go for the trending color palettes, or you can also choose to create a palette. And to create a palette, the good thing about this is you can choose a favorite color that you have to begin with, and then you can lock it and you continue to change the rest of the palette accordingly, and it will try and find complementary colors that will go with that favorite color that you've got. And it's super simple to actually go into your calendar and change the custom colors. So like I said, all you need is the hex code, which you can get from Coolers on your right, and then you just copy and paste it and save it into your calendar colors. It's that simple. Okay guys, so it is time to start adding events with time blocking to your calendar. This involves blocking a certain amount of time for specific tasks, like working on your project or exercise routines. This is the bit that should take the longest time, because you need to do this right, or else there's no point in having a pretty looking calendar. Let's get into it. So this is how I do it, and I'll share my screen. So I time block every week for the whole week, and I usually start at the start or the end of the week. And I have what I call a mastermind sheet, which is a goal setting tool between me and my boyfriend. Make sure you hit comment below if you would like me to make a video on what this is and how to use a mastermind sheet. Alright, so this sheet, as you can see, has all my goals that I want to achieve for this week. Then I need to estimate sort of how long each activity will take. Now that is purely based on experience. And so like a lecture, for example, is easy enough because you know that it has to last an hour. But when it comes to revising things like exercising, making food, meal prepping and things, you need to estimate how long that will take and time block it accordingly. And you want to be intentional with the timing, so don't give yourself too much room or else you'll procrastinate. And also don't be too strict on the time, and I'll touch on that next, so keep watching. So the most important points in time blocking is this. Number 1, time block to complete a task. Number 2, batching similar tasks in one block. I actually talk about why this is important in this video here, but ultimately it helps your brain get into flow state very quickly and helps you stay in flow state so you don't procrastinate. This next tip is really important when you're setting up your Google Calendar, so keep this in mind. So it's really important that you are realistic and you are able to leave some room with your calendar for flexibility. Sure, you know this feeling when your friend comes up to you and she's like, oh my gosh, there's this really cool event that's happening tonight. Everyone's going, you should come. You look at your calendar and crap, it's packed till next week and you can't make it. It sucks, right? It's one thing to be disciplined with Google Calendar, but it's another thing to make your life miserable. Events can happen all the time, so that's why it's important that you leave some room in your calendar so you can accommodate them. You can wiggle around and make things work, especially if you don't want to miss out on things that are really important. This is not the same as if you have a deadline and you really need to get it done, then don't go. The next tip is to add recurrent events, and this is quite a bit of a time saver, because if you know something is going to happen every day, like your morning routine, for example, which I don't miss, then you don't want to spend so much time duplicating it every single day. You can make it a recurring event that happens daily. And the good thing about Google Calendar is, like, for example, if your lectures on Mondays end by the end of the semester, then you can set a date for it to end so it doesn't keep recurring after that semester finishes. Alright guys, so now as promised, I'm going to show you some of Google's features that comes with the calendar as well. There is this thing called Google Keep, which you also have on your phone, and I'm sure you can sync them up here as well. So this is where you can take notes of like whatever things that you kind of want to remember, for example, and you can just leave it open while you are going through your calendar. But I don't really, personally, I don't use Keep Notes. I don't really find it that helpful. But there is also Google Task on here. And this is a list of things that you can tick off while you are also having your calendar open. And this is how it works. So for example, under filming videos, right, there might be lots of different subtasks that you want to do. Under filming video, I can click in here, as you can see, and I can click task. And for task here, I can write, for example, film B-rolls. Yeah, so then it'll be under Eunice Chow list, save. Yep, so then on the list here, you can see that it becomes a checklist here. and it has to be done by this time here. And when you're done, you can go ahead and click mark completed, and then you'll see, boom, it disappears or it gets faded out on the calendar. So I think that is pretty cool as a task list that you can use with Google Calendar. Hey guys, hopefully by the end of this video you have your Google Calendar all set up and it's simple and easy to use, and most importantly, you're going to stick to it. So comment below, please if you found that this video was helpful to you. Thanks for watching and happy time blocking.